Welcome back to our channel. Today, we're diving into the shocking and outrageous takedown of Jessica Simpson by Hollywood. From her rise to fame as a pop princess to becoming a fashion mogul, Jessica seemed to have it all. But behind the scenes, she faced relentless scrutiny, cruel criticism, and industry pressure that would have broken anyone. From body-shaming headlines to being underestimated at every turn, Hollywood had its own agenda when it came to Jessica Simpson. So, what really happened? Why was she targeted so viciously? And how did she fight back? Stay tuned as we uncover the truth behind Hollywood's disgusting treatment of Jessica Simpson. Jessica Simpson was born on a sunny July 10, 1980, in the cowboy town of Abilene, Texas, and her earliest years seemed almost cinematic. A minister's daughter immersed in a Christian upbringing, moving frequently so her father could spread his faith. Even as a child, she could sense her calling. She began singing in church choirs by the age of 11 and never looked back. Yet what might have remained the innocent dream of a little girl from Texas quickly collided with the unforgiving reality of show business. At age 12, she auditioned for the Mickey Mouse Club, competing against young talents like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and Justin Timberlake. Although she reached the semi-finals, her nerves got the best of her in the final round, and she didn't make the final cut. Some might have stopped there, hearts broken, but Jessica refused to surrender. She pressed on, honing her voice in church, leaving high school in 1997 to pursue a music career, and later earning her GED because, even when stardom beckoned, she understood the importance of completing her education. Early on, Jessica also carried a terrible secret. In her memoir Open Book, she revealed that she'd suffered deeply uncomfortable incidents beginning at the age of 6, involving a family friend's daughter. Although she eventually told her parents during a car ride, the family never addressed the trauma again, a silence that planted seeds of unresolved pain for her to carry for years. This tension between the public image of the innocent, upbeat minister's daughter and the private reality of childhood trauma would follow Jessica for much of her career. Even her father's dual role as loving parent and eventual manager blurred lines. On one hand, Joseph Simpson's faith and devotion gave Jessica roots, but on the other hand, the entertainment industry is notoriously predatory and can treat father-manager relationships as business ventures first and parental care second. While her Christian upbringing provided moral grounding, it also attracted Hollywood's gaze in the worst ways. The tabloids would pounce on her sincerity, faith, and vow to remain a virgin until marriage, turning her personal convictions into gossip gold. Throughout her early adolescence, Jessica was constantly on the move, Cincinnati, Ohio, for a bit, then back to Texas, giving her a flexibility to adapt but also an ongoing struggle to define her sense of self. By the time she decided to become a professional singer, she could not possibly have guessed how her faith and values would both propel her and be weaponized against her in the cutthroat world of pop music. Indeed, she first gained attention in Christian music circles and was even set to release a Christian album. However, the label deemed her growing bust too distracting, shelving her debut effort before it ever saw the light of day. Here we spot the earliest signs of the kind of disgusting takedown she would later face. A young teenager told that her natural, developing body was incompatible with Christian standards. But fate shifted when Tommy Mottola, then head of Columbia Records, spotted Jessica's potential, positioning her as a wholesome alternative to the more overtly sexual Britney Spears and Christina Aguilera. Jessica Simpson was thus molded into a public persona, the girl next door, with a widely publicized vow of chastity, her purity ring a centerpiece of her story. This approach was a shrewd marketing choice by label executives. Sex sells, but ironically, so does not having sex. Her vow made her distinct, gave her a unique selling point, and set her apart in a crowded field of late 90s pop starlets. Her debut single, I Want to Love You Forever, released in September 1999, soared to number 3 on the Billboard Hot 100 and showed off her powerhouse vocals reminiscent of Mariah Carey or Celine Dion. Soon after came the album Sweet Kisses, which carved out a space for Jessica in the booming teen pop market. By the time she released Irresistible in 2001, she had started to transition from purely innocent ballads to more flirtatious pop, although she still had to compete with the massive star power of her contemporaries. The real turning point of her career, however, might have been 2003, when In This Skin was released and she simultaneously embarked on a reality TV journey with newlyweds, Nick and Jessica. That MTV show, featuring Jessica and her then-husband Nick Lachey, became a pop culture phenomenon. From the outside, it looked adorable and fun, America's new sweethearts, cooking and bantering on camera, but it also left Jessica vulnerable to brand new forms of ridicule, the most iconic being the "chicken of the sea" confusion, which led tabloids to brand her a ditzy blonde. Jessica would later admit that she sometimes played up that persona for laughs, but once the media had a hold of it, they refused to let go. Even so, viewers saw a playful, comedic side to Jessica, and that relatability helped her remain in the spotlight. Meanwhile, she launched the Jessica Simpson collection in 2005, a fashion line that would come to rake in about $1 billion in annual sales by 2014. This achievement alone was extraordinary, given that so many celebrity brands vanish after a season or two. Jessica's brand excelled because it offered inclusive sizing and comfortable yet stylish designs that resonated with everyday women who had cheered her on since her Sweet Kisses era. Despite her success, tabloids often found ways to overshadow her accomplishments, focusing instead on her relationships or her ditzy comedic flair. In 2005, Jessica also burst onto the movie scene, starring as Daisy Duke in The Dukes of Hazzard. She dove headfirst into a more sexualized image, sporting short shorts and performing a provocative cover of Nancy Sinatra's "These Boots Are Made for Walkin'." The Christian fans who once revered her innocence were confused or even disenchanted by this shift, while the press gleefully jumped on the chance to deconstruct her appearance. It was a stark demonstration of how quickly Hollywood can pivot from praising someone for their wholesomeness to critiquing them for being too overtly sexy. Meanwhile, her music continued to develop through albums like A Public Affair, 2006. Although she maintained a presence on the charts, Jessica was rarely given full respect by critics who considered her brand fluff. Yet she soldiered on, branching into new commercial arenas, haircare, beauty products, maternity wear, while tabloids carried on dissecting every curve and every outfit. Things escalated in the tabloids when they discovered that beyond the vow of chastity and that girl next door aura, Jessica had a personal life as dramatic as any Hollywood star's. Her marriage to Nick Lachey seemed perfect on Newlyweds, but the constant filming made it difficult to solve problems behind closed doors. They eventually announced their separation in November 2005 and divorced in June 2006. Jessica later called her failure to sign a prenup her biggest financial mistake, as Nick walked away with a reported $12 million payout. This glimpse behind the scenes of a pop star fairy tale was tabloid gold, encouraging the press to dig ever deeper into Jessica's romantic affairs. She then briefly dated John Mayer, whose 2010 Playboy interview described Jessica as sexual napalm, comments widely criticized for objectifying her and reducing a successful woman to a mere soundbite about her sexual allure. This was yet another example of Hollywood's disgusting takedown, perpetuating the narrative that Jessica was little more than a naive bombshell. Next came Tony Romo, the Dallas Cowboys quarterback. Football fans ridiculed her, calling her Yoko Romo whenever Tony performed poorly, as though she were a curse or a distraction. Again, we see the misogynistic pattern of blaming a woman for a man's career issues. Tabloids latched onto these rumors and the cycle of sensationalism continued. Ultimately, Jessica found lasting happiness with Eric Johnson, a former NFL player whom she began dating in 2010. The two now share 3 children, Maxwell Drew, Ace, and Birdie, and were married in 2014. This final relationship, comparatively, has been quieter in the press, possibly because Jessica learned to safeguard her privacy, or possibly because tabloid culture simply found a new target. Across all these relationships, Jessica's personal life was never permitted to be her own. It was a soap opera that the media insisted on scripting, casting, and distributing for public consumption. Outside of her romantic entanglements, Jessica also continued to rely on her tight family unit. Her father, Joe, managed her career for years, her mother, Tina, often helped style her, and her younger sister, Ashley, carved out her own niche in music and acting. Another constant was Ken Paves, her longtime stylist who became a close friend and collaborator. Together, they expanded Jessica's brand into hair and beauty products, tapping into her appeal as a relatable every woman who still knew how to look glam. Even as the tabloids cycled through narratives, dumb blonde, failing singer, washed-up star, her fans stood by her. They recognized her authenticity, noting that even the comedic bits on Newlyweds stemmed from a real sense of humor, not stupidity. When paparazzi circulated pictures of her in so-called mom jeans in 2009, an avalanche of fat-shaming followed. Late-night hosts made jokes. TV shows compared her to NFL players. Jessica has since admitted that the barrage of hateful commentary was devastating to her mental health. She'd always had insecurities, but seeing them splashed across national media and hearing them from total strangers amplified her anxieties to a breaking point, fueling emotional struggles and substance abuse. The cycle was cruel. Tabloids set impossible body standards, mocking her for any deviation from the perfect pop star silhouette. If she lost weight, they'd say she was too concerned with looks or rumored she'd had plastic surgery. If she gained weight, they'd plaster unflattering photos across magazine covers and sneer at her decline. In short, her body was treated as public property, subjected to near-constant scrutiny. The so-called plastic surgery controversies came next, with rumors swirling that she'd become unrecognizable. Critics compared her to Jeffree Star, questioned her every changed feature, and rarely gave any thought to normal aging, postpartum body changes, or even the possibility that she may have done nothing at all. For Jessica, this was part of the same toxic game she'd been stuck in for over a decade. Whether she was a virgin, a sex symbol, overweight, or glammed up, tabloids found a reason to tear her down. Yet Jessica kept going, channeling her entrepreneurial spirit into expanding her brand. Behind the scenes, she also struggled with addiction to alcohol and prescription pills, a subject she finally opened up about in her 2020 memoir, Open Book. It was a watershed moment for her. Instead of letting tabloids control her narrative, she told her own story. She addressed the early childhood trauma she'd endured, her self-medication, and the heartbreak of repeatedly seeing her personal life splashed across front pages. She also released 6 new songs alongside the memoir, returning to her musical roots. This was Jessica seizing back her story, confronting everything that had once been forcibly dragged into the public eye and presenting it in her own words, on her own terms. Not only did this move resonate with fans, it also revealed a side of Jessica that had long been overlooked, her candor, resilience, and capacity for introspection. Despite the horror stories of body shaming and humiliating headlines, Jessica Simpson's philanthropic side also deserves spotlight. Drawing from her Christian faith, she has quietly contributed to causes related to children's health, women's empowerment, and global relief. High-profile fundraisers often overshadow the quieter philanthropic acts, but Jessica has made them part of her life, consistent with her down-to-earth, family-oriented roots. Over the years, she's ventured into acting in That 70s Show, Entourage, Employee of the Month, and Blonde Ambition, mostly comedic roles where she again seemed willing to laugh at herself and the public's perception of her. While critics rarely gave her acting high praise, her sense of humor and ability to poke fun at her image kept audiences engaged. Meanwhile, her discography grew to include a country album, Do You Know, which peaked at #1 on Billboard's Top Country Albums chart, yet another example of her adaptability. Tracks like With You showcased her gentle, open-hearted persona, reaffirming to fans that behind all the manufactured tabloid chaos was a talented singer who liked to keep things simple. The reality show Newlyweds remains a cultural milestone, a precursor to the type of celebrity reality series that now dominates television. It offered a behind-the-scenes glimpse into Jessica's married life, from mundane domestic arguments to comedic confusion about whether tuna might be chicken. Though it catapulted her to a new level of fame, it also entrenched the dumb blonde caricature in the public mind. In hindsight, we can see Newlyweds as both an innovative, pioneering show and a cautionary tale of what happens when you let cameras into your most personal spaces. The Jessica Simpson collection stands as an incredible triumph. Many celebrities have launched fashion or beauty lines only to see them vanish in a flash, but Jessica's brand has endured since 2005. Offering everything from handbags to fragrances, the collection proved that Jessica truly understood her consumer base, largely women who wanted stylish, well-priced items they could actually wear. By catering to a wide range of sizes and body types, she cultivated an inclusive environment in fashion that was at odds with the narrow standards once used to shame her. This massive commercial success, however, is often overshadowed by trivial tabloid pieces or cruel jokes about her intelligence. In truth, building a billion-dollar empire requires both strategy and tenacity, qualities the media rarely credited her for. Her approach to motherhood, documenting postpartum weight loss journeys, sharing selfies with her children, and speaking candidly about her fitness ups and downs, has also made her a role model in the body positivity movement. In a world that pressures new moms to snap back into shape, Jessica was open about her struggles, making her that much more relatable. She empowered women by showing them that physical transformations take time, and that the only real standard worth meeting is one's own health and self-confidence. When we compare Jessica to her peers, Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, Mandy Moore, we see a pattern in how the media manipulated the narratives of young female performers. Britney, for instance, endured a very public mental health crisis. Christina faced relentless scrutiny for her sexual image. Mandy Moore pivoted to acting. Jessica, meanwhile, diversified into reality TV, fashion, and product lines. All these women dealt with unrealistic expectations and, at various points, faced vicious tabloids. Jessica's story is perhaps unique for how deeply the press latched onto her innocence, chastity, and every fluctuation in her weight. But it exemplifies a broader truth: the machine that builds up pop princesses at breakneck speed also revels in tearing them down. Sometimes it's a literal death hoax. Yes, Jessica has been subject to those internet rumors claiming she died. Rest assured, she's alive and well, continuing to develop her businesses, care for her children, and engage with fans. Yet the presence of such rumors underscores how, once you're in the public eye, even your existence can become a bizarre talking point for clickbait sites. From where we stand now, we can see exactly why we label this entire journey Hollywood's disgusting takedown. Hollywood has a deep fascination with building female celebrities into paragons of innocence or sex appeal, then mercilessly dissecting them. Jessica was ridiculed for her vow of chastity, shamed when she upheld it, scrutinized when she moved on, and was also criticized for her marriage, her divorce, her postpartum body, her alleged surgical enhancements, her intelligence, her brand expansions, the list goes on. What's remarkable is not that these attacks happened, but that she persevered. She emerged from the onslaught triumphant in many ways: a resilient businesswoman, a mother who found a genuine partner in Eric Johnson, an artist who can still release new music, and an author whose memoir soared to the top of bestseller lists. Many people saw themselves in her struggles. She showed that heartbreak, ridicule, and trauma do not define you if you are determined to reclaim your own story. And that's exactly what Jessica did. She used her faith, her sense of humor, her entrepreneurial skill, and her willingness to be vulnerable to carve out a new space for herself in a world that tried to confine her to cheap tabloid headlines. At the end of the day, Jessica Simpson is not just an anecdote about chicken of the sea. She's not merely the figure behind a vow of chastity or a so-called weight scandal. She's a human being who endured trauma from childhood, navigated an industry rife with exploitation, and still found it in her heart to be creative and giving. She's a testament to how even the cruelest narratives can be turned around by authenticity and courage. For anyone watching from the sidelines, her story underscores the ugly side of pop culture and paparazzi sensationalism: how they police bodies, sexualize innocence, deride intelligence, and blame women for men's failings. But her story also shows us an alternative path: that you can defy that system by speaking out, laughing at the absurdity, and forging ahead on your own terms. If there is one grand lesson from Jessica Simpson's odyssey, it's that every celebrity is a multidimensional person. Public images can be molded in 1,000 ways, some comedic, some malicious, but the real self can shine through the cracks. No matter how many times a tabloid tries to reduce someone to an offensive headline or pigeonhole them as the dumb blonde, the truth will out if you keep being honest. Jessica laid her truth bare in open book, in her interviews, in her music, and in the dignity she's shown through every tabloidy tornado. For that, she absolutely deserves applause. Jessica Simpson's journey proves one thing: Hollywood may try to tear you down, but resilience and authenticity will always win in the end. Despite the criticism, the mockery, and the endless headlines dissecting her every move, Jessica built an empire on her own terms. She refused to let the industry define her, and that's what makes her story so powerful. What do you think about the way Hollywood treated Jessica? Let's talk in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload. Until next time.